welcome to another ChampionsWay webinar. This is Sensei Nick. I'm excited today to have not only a great personal friend, but just an amazing martial arts instructor, Master Ace Ramirez. He really doesn't need an introduction, but I'm just going to go through a couple quick things about Master Ace. Master Ace, number one, runs the Kru Training program, which is licensed by over 200 schools worldwide. Master Ace also runs a martial arts school in Bergenfield, New Jersey. And basically today what he'll be going over is the 6 steps to transforming your school successfully. There's been a big transformation, a lot of changes over the past year. So Master Ace, when he was looking for a topic, he was telling me that a lot of school owners have been going through this change and he wanted to help them out. So Master Ace, without further ado, I want to turn it over to you, my friend. And at the end of the seminar, we'll go over a couple of promotions we have going on at ChampionsWay, and also talking about our C-Way. If you haven't registered for the C-Way, Master Ace will also be speaking there as well this year. That's October 19th to 20th. But Master Ace, let's turn it over to you, my friend. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Sensei Nick. Sensei is over there in Vancouver, and I am here located in New Jersey. He always gives me a great introduction, and I want to thank him as well as ChampionsWay for giving me this platform to be able to speak with you today. So as he said, today I'm going to be talking about my 6 steps to transforming your school successfully, and hopefully you'll be able to take in some of this information. It's more of a methodology and implement it within your school, see how it works, but I'm also going to be able to give you some examples here today. Real quick before we get started, for those who don't know much about me, actually this month marks 30 years of martial arts experience for me from when I first started, and I have trained in quite a few different areas of arts. Many of them are traditional, and some of them are modern, everything from Taekwondo and Karate styles all the way to Muay Thai, submission wrestling, and Filipino martial arts as well. I'm always a student, so whenever I speak to you in a platform such as this, it's because I really do try and stay open-minded, find things that not just work for me, work for other people as well, and hopefully I can share that with you and give that success to you as well. My background also includes being a director for various organizations such as Fairtex and other martial arts industry companies. Some of them are traditional, some of them are MMA and modern-based, and some of them are fight camp facilities. And as Sensei Nick has said before, I am the licensed program creator for programs such as Kru Muay Thai, submission wrestling, and kids MMA Kali combatives. So without further ado, I'm going to go over a couple key takeaways today. And some of the ways that we're going to break everything down will be, how do you currently implement anything within your school? And I'll give you a couple examples of that. What exactly are the 6 steps that I'm following? Where do most people make their mistakes when they try and implement? And I will also give you some scenario examples as well. At the very end, I'll open up the questions to see how I can be able to help you. And I'll run through it as quickly as possible so that I can actually have some time at the end. And if anybody has individual questions, Sensei Nick will feed them to me, and I'll work with you before the end of this webinar. Okay, so the first one is, how do you currently implement any particular aspect of your school at the moment, meaning to make any changes? So an example of a change that you might have would be, you're going to do a tuition increase. And my question is, when and why are you even doing that? You might be doing a marketing campaign, something that you haven't done before. Well, how much are you going to be spending, whether that's time or money, and where are you going to be doing those campaigns? Maybe you're contemplating on adding a new program. Is there a good enough reason to add one, or why you should not? So there are many, many different examples that we can cover, but that's what I mean in the 6 steps. If you were going to do any of those examples, what 6 steps should you follow so that you can successfully be able to use them? So going back to what is your methodology, and if you're going to make a change, for a lot of people I speak to, I say, hey, they say, Master Ace, I'm going to be doing a tuition increase. And I say, that's great, tell me about it. They're like, well, when Monday comes around, I'm just going to change the price. So that's my definition of they're just going to do it, but realistically, they don't have any plan, they don't have a strategy of attack. They just wind up doing it, and then they kind of throw it against the wall, see what sticks. And if people didn't like the price change, they say, oh, well, it doesn't work in my area. And really, that's, then they leave that alone. Do they refer to a similar or previous innovation and repeat it? So if you're going to do a marketing campaign, let's say it was a end-of-year holiday Christmas program, do you just do what you did last year and not try and innovate it at all and just become a creature of habit and just do it over and over and over again and not even know if it's actually successful before doing it again? Third one might be, do you consult with a mentor, whether that's your existing instructor, it might be a business consultant, it might be other partners that you have, could be a family member and your wife. But is it you making the end-all decisions without having anybody else basically give you any feedback? Another one is, do you use surveys? So now the person that you're consulting are actually your clients who actually pay you, and you find out based upon previous history, are you actually making a correct decision based upon what they need? We are basically in a supply and demand kind of service business. So it doesn't matter how much you like the style or art that you want, the people who are coming in through your doors, realistically, you have to make sure that the message is correct, that the people who are your current members are getting service and what they were paying for. Another thing is, at what point do you know if it is working or not? So you might be doing a survey to do something, but then again, are you doing a survey after you do it so that you can find out that you're on the right path? So to continue on this, here are my 6 basic steps. The first one is belief. The second one is strategy. The third one is tactics. Fourth one is implementation. The fifth one is to review those statistics. And number 6 is to renew or innovate. And just so that we're clear on this, renewing basically means to find out that we actually are doing it correctly, and before putting all of our eggs in a basket, we find out that we can go completely on that strategic path. Or we have to innovate it, and we have to change whatever we're doing midway through or as early as possible to find out that there are some problems and then be able to continue with the game plan. It's kind of like being in between round 1 and round 2, you're in the corner and you're making your fight adjustments. So you may have a game plan or a fight strategy at round 1, but based upon what's going on, you do have to make adjustments. All right, so in our first scenario for 6 steps of transformation, let's figure out what your method is. Let's take that same example, because I've had a lot of people discuss that with me, and they say, I want to implement a higher tuition for enrollment. So a lot of them will basically feedback me and tell me, hey, I basically pick a new tuition price. They have no real rhyme or reason of what price they're going to charge. They just want to charge more, so they pick a price. And then what they do is they offer it to the current student, and then all of a sudden, just by revealing the price, the students don't seem to be on board completely, and then they wind up stopping the entire process because they don't think it's going to work. So basically, the entire progress of trying to raise tuition fails, okay? So there's a couple different reasons why this happens. I actually consider it at a particular different stage, and we're going to see it in the next slide. Start thinking right now before I get to it as I go along with the webinar. What kind of scenarios would you like me to be able to discuss, and we'll talk about that in the 6 steps. So here, basically what happened in that is the person who basically created a new price started on number 4, which was the implementation phase of the 6 stages. Okay, they should have started on the actual number 1. It's numerical. So numerical order says number 1 is the belief. And I've had a lot of people when I say, hey, you know, you could be charging this amount for your lessons, they always say, well, I don't know, it's a little bit tough, my area, et cetera, et cetera. They don't believe that they can actually get that price. So that's also going to be a hurdle, an obstacle for you, so you shouldn't even be doing it. But here's another interesting thing. In this quote I said, if you couldn't enroll people at the current price, raising it will not change anything. So at the end of the day, people will say, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to charge more, and all of a sudden I'm going to get a more respectable clientele in here because they understand that I'm more expensive. But the whole thing is, if your offering hasn't changed and people weren't willing to pay for that original offering, you have to believe whatever you charge for is completely undervalued, and that's why you're offering it at that price. Okay? The next thing to consider is, does the person delivering the new tuition believe that it's worth it and is pre-framing it? Because the actual solution is, you either have to change the attitude of that person delivering it or just change the person. So if we're doing an upgrade or a new enrollment and we're going to have it be $30 higher than what it was before, and the school owner or head instructor really has a hard time swallowing that price, but they know that it's worth it, you sometimes can get the front desk person to be able to do that conference, and because they're doing what they're told, there's no biasness to it. They say, hey, this is the price. That's what the price is. Your clients can obviously understand this is a nice place that we can train in. However, even the other, the body language and impression, facial expressions, things like that, you might not be the right person for that job. So it always starts with belief. Regardless of whatever topic you're going to bring to me at the end of this webinar, we'll always say, what is your belief and what is the belief of the other person? So if you believe you're worth $180, but you didn't convey the message of what benefits that that student can have, they don't believe it's worth $180 a month for a beginner program. Okay. Following in the same order, first was belief. The second step is strategy. I'm going to use a particular word not often used, but I'm going to use the word technology, and I'm not saying iPad, and I'm not thinking, the latest Wi-Fi access. I'm saying technology can be defined as the usage of knowledge in order to solve a problem. So a lot of times right now we use electronics as a way to solve problems, but here our strategy is our way of using technology. Whether you're using that website to deliver the message, trial lesson to educate the prospect the value of the program before you reveal the price. So in order to have that belief reinforced, you can't just say, here's a trial, here's a kick, here's a punch, come in, pay a price. You have to have them understand through other people's testimonials, and what you understand them to want out of your program will reinforce the belief system. This price will now seem like a bargain compared to what is being offered, because if they came in for more confidence and you showed them a fun kick but didn't show them the relationship of being confident and doing a physical action, they won't get it either. So I'm not here to teach you how to close a sale. Basically, I'm still giving you an example of how to use these 6 steps in the example of a price tuition. Now, the problem here is, again, as I said, you can have them kick, you can have them punch, you can have them sweat, and if that's all there is to it and you sit them down and give them a price, they will still be shocked at how much that can be. They'll always value it to something else that they might have seen either online, or a friend was taking a martial arts class somewhere else and it was cheaper, or to say, I can sweat in a gym for a lot less. You got to give them for some other benefit what your program has to offer. So the solution is to prep the student before they're taking the class, whether it's through your marketing, through the trial class, find out what that value and benefit is to them, offer it, and how you can deliver that benefit to them after they join. You have to give them that roadmap. Because if you're pretty much winging it every single time, oh, yes, we do that, oh, yes, we do that, anybody can say they can teach confidence. But unless you could actually let them know how you do it, that's going to be the main obstacle to get them on one side of the fence versus the other. In the end, you have to learn and practice that, because practice makes habit. And if you can't do that, that's when you're going to be able to hand off the reins to somebody else to be able to do so. Okay? Now, if that is your strategy, to bring them in and pre-frame them and let them understand what you do, so therefore you can give them the value, step 3 becomes your tactic. It becomes, what is your method for being able to do that? Well, as you're sitting them down, and I said, well, you got to be able to show them how you can deliver that. It might be done through the testimonials that you might have brought right next to your enrollment binder. There could be a testimonial video playing in the office while they're just waiting to speak to you. If you're doing a group class intro, the more bodies that are actually in that class, the more social proof you have that other people are paying that price. Let's say that most of the people in that class are your students from 6 months ago. So it's a beginner class. And everyone's paying $125 in that class. But right now you're offering your program at $145. It's a little bit more. When that new student comes to your intro class, they're going to see all those other people there. So basically when they see that, there's a connection to them saying, wow, everybody else must be paying this price too. Nobody said, hey, great, you're coming in, and now I'm going to charge you more. They assume that everybody else is similarly paying that tuition. So that's another way that you could be able to have it as a tactic. Having the enrollment binder to compare the programs and savings is another tactic as well. So again, it's not a strategy, it's a tactic in order for you to create that strategy or deliver that strategy. And then in my experience, people make decisions, for example, on the down more than the monthly, so don't focus on saving them on the reoccurring payments. So again, I've had people come to me and say, they like the program, but they have to think about it, and you can have all the sales consultants give you all the different methodology. But again, if you don't have the tactics and training of how to be able to deal with those rebuttals, then it doesn't matter what strategy, how much money you put into marketing, none of that really matters because you wind up failing in the tactic portion. Now, on step number 4, which is implementation, now this is the point where you can do it. This is the step where most people start with, okay? So people say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm just going to do it. Realistically, what they need to do is start with the belief. They have to go to step number 2, which is strategy, and then number 3, which is tactics, and then they can implement it. They almost jump the gun without having any kind of preparation. So by the time you've done these 3 steps in preparation, now you should be confident to be able to do it. And for those that want to truly do a study of success, you may want to toggle between your old method and new methods just to be able to see which one's working for you. Just because you're doing something different and new doesn't mean it's better. Your old version still might work great, but you always have to compare it to something else. And then if you are going to do it within your implementation, that's when you have to completely do it. If you're going to say, I'm going to offer the new tuition price to this person, you got to stick to it, because now you got to figure out whether your tactics were correct or not. Okay? But this is the one thing you have to be aware of. Only if you truly have gone through the previous 4 steps, technically it's the 3 step, this is the 4th step, should you bother implementing it. Because if you get stuck at any one of those, you're really going to wind up just finding out that there's actually no record to figure out how to do step number 5. And so step number 5 and number 6 I'm combining, because step number 5 basically is to review your stats. So you got to keep your stats, and in this scenario, you kept your stats from info to booked, booked to show, show to enroll. Okay, very, very basic. Everybody knows this. However, if the stats are low from info to booked, you got to work on that info call, whoever's doing the info call. If low to booked to show, if you're very low on booked to show, the excitement level might be low, so you got to work on possibly your tactic. If your show to enroll is low, either the lesson wasn't exciting or you didn't prove that you can deliver that benefit. Now remember, that goes back to your strategy again. To really make use of your stats. First of all, not a lot of people keep stats, but there's a percentage of people who do keep stats and don't actually use them. They have, hey, I did this in January, I did this in February. Then they put it in a folder, and then they just lock it away and don't look at it, and they don't figure how to change their strategy or their belief. So you really have to have them all bounce against each other in order to be successful. So here again, only if you've truly gone through the previous 4 steps can you really understand how to keep your stats and review them. So in step number 6, this is when you could either renew it. That means whatever step 1 through 5 you've done, you can continue doing because it's working. Or you can innovate or change these steps and find out, you know what, everything's working great. The price increase is fine. However, I have to change my strategy in the way that I get my leads. So if your number, if not, find a mentor, because if you can't figure out the solution yourself, it doesn't necessarily mean the process is wrong. It might mean that you might need somebody else to help you with your strategy and belief. Okay? So don't reinvent the wheel. If you have any questions about something like this, at the end I'll give you my contact information, and then we can speak about that. Okay? Let me give you another scenario. Let's say that you're talking about adding a new program. I know a lot of school owners out there are doing things like they're adding, a Zumba class or a kettlebell class or a kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, submission wrestling, things like that. Here's a couple things that I want to be able to do, those 6 steps. So here's another scenario as well. Step 1 in the belief of adding a program is, do you really want the program in your school? So I'm going to basically go over this exact same 6 steps, but a different scenario right now. So, for example, some people had cardio kickboxing, and it was great. They didn't complain about the money, but necessarily they didn't like the cardio program. They hired someone from Craigslist. The money was okay, but they almost didn't pay attention to the program. They didn't like whether it was a matter of no uniforms, no upgrades, no curriculum, things like that. The reason they didn't like it, possibly because they didn't like the culture that was in their school. So they had it, but they weren't really completely behind the program. So another example could be you might have a street self-defense course. And in that street self-defense course, it's reality-based. So there's a lot of they're wearing regular clothes. The teacher and student relationship is more casual. It's not yes or no, sir. It's just like Bob or Tim or what have you. It's a little bit different. So what happens is a lot of people can honestly say, well, we're going to just try it. But it's kind of that Miyagi thing. It's like if you try it, it's not really going to work. You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. So it goes right back to belief again. The solution is believe in the program and how it will grow in your school. And if you truly feel strongly about the program but not strong about selling it, all you have to do is delegate You have to have the belief that it will work in your school, but you also believe that you're promote it. You have to find somebody else and delegate that to somebody else who may not just sell it, but maybe somebody else will be teaching it, so they're the ones getting certified. Just because you're the owner doesn't mean you have to teach everything. My analogy is you are the principal of the school. The principal of the school doesn't have to teach gym. However, they're going to try and find the best person who can lead that class for the students. So step number 2, which is strategy, who you're going to market this to. So if you, again, you're adding a brand new program, so what kind of strategy can you go over? Well, is the whole point of you adding a program, are you really trying to attract more adults or more children? Are you going to offer it to your active students, your current students, to try and add extra classes, or are you trying to get back all of your former students? Are you trying to add a Tai Chi program and get more senior students? Are you going to try and get the atypical? You have a lot of children in your school because you've done a lot of birthday parties, but you don't have a lot of adults. So the reason that you might be adding that Kru Muay Thai program is so that you can get more adults, but you're very happy with your numbers within your children's programs. Okay, so you have to have a reason. You can't just say I'm going to do it. You have to exactly know where it's going to lead into. And then is that similar? Is it too similar to make a difference, or is it too extreme? And the example that I had before was I had someone who had a Taekwondo program, and they said, I know what I'm going to do. For my Taekwondo program, I'm going to have an add-on program, which is a Hapkido. But in my opinion, in the public, they're going to see a guy in a dobak, in a uniform, and they're going to see them in a white uniform doing their Taekwondo. And I asked them, what's your Hapkido uniform going to look like? He goes, oh, well, it's completely different. It's blue. And to the public, it still looks like it's the exact same class, but to the owner themselves, they think it's different, and you really can't have that as a strategy. Also, where are you going to find your source? So if you're going to add a new program, is it completely being created by you, or are you finding it from someone who is able to successfully launch one? So whether it's, how do you find a creator of another program, or are you going to find someone who who launched a program and you want to follow their program, whether it's a Black Belt Club program, whether it's let's say a submission wrestling program, whatever it turns out to be, who are you role modeling after? And the next is, do they have success stories from origins like you? So there could be a guy who's doing, a kettlebell program and they're doing great. And you're saying, well, I'm going to do it too. The thing is, they have a 10,000 square foot facility with 15 different employees. You have a 900 square foot facility and you're the only teacher. So is that the right reason for you to do it, or can they find someone who has had success that was exactly like you as a starting point? Okay. And also, do they have the long-term relationships with their clients? And you could, you start saying, hey, I saw this magazine ad. It's an inexpensive program. I think I'll try it. I'll put it in there, and it's a one-and-done weekend certification. Now, basically, you broke every rule in the book. There was no belief because you have no idea who they are. There is no strategy. You basically go there for, certification over the weekend. There could be a tactic number 3. It's like, well, I don't know what my tactics are for upgrade because they don't offer it. So I'll probably have to create that from scratch when it comes along. And then when it comes down to stats, well, you know what your stats are going to look like. It's going to look very strong in the very beginning. It's going to taper at the end, and it's going to die at the end of the contract for the student because you didn't have a relationship with a company or a program for a year. How do you know what's going to happen at the end of your year? It's pretty much going to be self-proclaiming at that point. And then who's going to be teaching it as a strategy? Are you going to add it so that you have so many classes that you just wind up making more work for yourself? Or will it be able to, or is adding a new program your strategy in creating a staff development program? Okay. Included in the strategy will be, when will you launch it? Is it best to launch it now in the summer, or do you want to launch it at back-to-school time so that you have enough time to market it? And then what kind of schedule will you have for it? Are you just going to put it in the worst slots that nobody has? And I've seen that as well. They would start a new program. They would put it at an 8:30 time slot and say, gee, nobody likes the program. I guess we have to scrap it. But then, again, you didn't give it its prime time slot. You didn't give it the kind of opportunity that some of your other programs with success has had as well. So what kind of tactic can you have to follow up on the strategy? For the ideas that are out there, let's say you have a cardio class and you don't want to have such an inexpensive class and you want to have something like a progressive martial arts class after that. what are your tactics in doing that? Are you starting completely from scratch with new people, or are you going to integrate it with some current students so that they can show that social proof that I spoke before? Get a new person to take a class while the class is full, and then wind up taking that time slot into the new program. Instead of just launching it on a Monday, are you launching it with a special event? So your tactic could be, I'm going to load up the place with a special event. It's almost like a mass intro. You might even be able to bring in a special guest into a workshop and launch it from that point, because having it as a special event not only starts it off correctly, now you have marketing media. You're taking video. You could post that on YouTube. You can use that as an ongoing, and you'll be able to get testimonials right there on the spot, as well as enrollments. So that's, like I said, a lot of people there, they start in the tactic. They say, I'm just going to launch it, but they don't have any of the previous beliefs or strategies in place, and all of a sudden they tell me, hey, I had the open house, and it was a bust. Nobody really showed up. And I'll say, well, there was no strategy involved into it, and at the same time, the tactic that you used was too quick. There was no one there really to create excitement into that program. All right? So that's another example for that. And if you have any more recommendations, please contact me at that email address. Okay, and let's see. Next one is for the implementation. For step 4, create a deadline, please. There's a lot of people that I speak to, let's say they are going to add that Zumba class, and they say, well, I'm going to add the Zumba class. When are you going to do it? Soon. And realistically, what happens is 1 month turns to 2, 2 months turns to 3, and you keep procrastinating, and you actually never launch it. And remember, there is a good time to be able to launch it, whether it's the time that you have the best coverage, the best marketing, the best staffing, and all of a sudden you lose that window. That's always going to hurt you. So at the end of the day, when something like that happens, launching that program with a deadline and say you're going to do it and have your staff involved in it and working through it week by week, make sure that you're going to be able to do what you say. Okay? Launch the program with enough time after understanding how long it will actually take you to deliver it. So, for example, when some people learn, let's say, the Muay Thai program from me, they say, I would like to launch it in September. So, therefore, I want to join. Well, realistically, that's a mistake. So even though that you can get some training in, that doesn't mean you're ready to deploy that material. So you got to make sure that if you're going to do something like, I'm going to have nunchuck seminars or I'm going to have a bully buster workshop, hopefully you're not going on YouTube the day before and figuring out what you're going to teach. You're going through an actual course. You're absorbing it. You're learning how that you can deploy it with some practice sessions. You're going to get that marketing material out, and then you're actually going to be able to deliver that workshop or launch that program. It is a step process, and if you don't do that, this is one of the reasons why a lot of people say, well, it doesn't work for me. Well, it doesn't work for you because your methodology doesn't work. Follow these 6 steps for transforming your school, and it will be able to work for you. All right? The next part of this is have all your marketing pieces in place as well. So, again, you might be ready. However, informing the public about that program might not be ready. You need to be able to do this X amount of time before you actually launch it to get everybody on board. And then have all house and pro shop strategies in place. So therefore, if you are going to start a brand new kettlebell program, exercise bands program, they join and all of a sudden you don't have any of the pro shop merchandise ready for them, it just seems like you're not that prepared. So you want to be able to have all your ducks in a row from them. And if you want any more tips, just let me know. And I'll let you know at the end of this webinar how you can be able to work with any situations that you're looking forward to in the future. Okay. Once again, I'm grouping steps 5 and 6 together to review your stats and renew or innovate those particular program additions. So are you qualified to judge the success of this or any new implementation at your business? So here we go again. Don't, wow, there's a lot of people who showed up to the first class. It's a success. That's not a real statistic. It's over time. You got to be able to gauge and see, is there growth? You have to be able to see, do you have sustaining power for that? Or if you're doing a short-term special, like it's a 4-week special or what have you, don't base the entire future of your program on those 4 weeks. You don't know after that 4 weeks whether or not they are going to feel strongly about your program if you have to upgrade or renew them as well. All right. Many new clients I have cannot produce timely stats, so a lot of times I'll say it'll be, let's say, Thursday. And I'll say, hey, by the way, can you show me some of your stats by tomorrow? and then Monday rolls around and I still didn't get it. Well, realistically, if you're keeping daily stats, giving me your weekly stats is not a problem. But if you weren't keeping any stats, then you're always rifling through all sorts of paperwork or manual ledgers. Now, even if you're using a program such as Perfect Mind, unless you're actually inputting it, it still won't give you anything accurate. So make sure that you keep on top of that. If you say, Master Ace, I'm just not really good at that, great, find somebody else who will. It's more important that you don't look for the excuses, you look for the solutions. Okay? If one class is producing more students, would you move it to a more prime time slot? So again, now we've added a class. Oh, we've added a kettlebell class. And we have a ton of people in the kettlebell class. However, your Saturday Black Belt Club class is at a time slot, but the kettlebell class really wants to come in. Well, I've had a lot of people talk about their schedule and say, well, how much is it making? He goes, well, I like the Black Belt Club class. And realistically, yes, you could like the Black Belt Club class, but if everyone is paying $10 more a month to their tuition, and that's all to attend the Black Belt Club class, but somebody else is paying you an additional $180 a month to do the kettlebell class, you may want to look at that number instead of which one you like instead. So sometimes you have to be impartial and look at it as a third party, and numbers don't lie, and allow that to be able to take hold. And once again, going through those 6 steps, and I'm going to put that up really quick for you just so that you could see them one more time. In case you weren't writing them down before, this is what they are. 6 steps are: first is your belief. 2 is to have a solid strategy. And then within that strategy, you're going to follow it with specific tactics. Then after that, it's the pure implementation. Number 5 is how to review your stats, which means you all throughout part of your strategy is you will be keeping stats. And then number 6 is to either renew it, which is to continue on those original 5, or you have to find alternative methods within those first 5. So those are your 6 steps. So if everybody has those 6 steps, I would love to be able to scroll back to the last slide. So if anyone needs my contact information, and Sensei Nick can also discuss a little bit more about the C-Way event. So there's my information right there. If you want more information, it's all right there on that page, on that slide.
And Master Ace, just to tell everyone in here, I actually have the Kru Training in my school. I've been working with Master Ace for a few years now. It's very simple to implement. If you're looking to implement a Muay Thai kickboxing program, I highly recommend it. And there's so many different events where Master Ace is speaking, so definitely give it check it out. Check out the website. That would be really important for anyone who's interested in implementing a Muay Thai kickboxing program. I highly recommend Master Ace, obviously. Then finally, guys, the C-Way. Let's talk about that. I have 2 things left here I wanted to go over with everybody. The first thing was, if you're actually a client or even looking at a ChampionsWay, today we're offering a $100 towards any service, okay, that we offer, or new software, $100 credit. So if anyone's interested in that, please give us a call at 877-774-5425, extension 1. If there's anyone in here that would like a tour of our Perfect Mind platform, okay, or any of our internet marketing services, please just give us a call here at sales. Again, that number is 1-877-774-5425, extension 1. Okay, and then finally, let's talk about the C-Way. The C-Way, we're really excited about that. Some amazing speakers coming this year. Master Ace will be there. He'll be doing a class, and he'll also be doing his – Master Ace, you might kill me, but I have you down for like a 7 a.m. workout. So you're going to be doing a workout session for everybody, and then also you'll be having your class as well. But yeah, I know you're up early.
I wake up at 4 o'clock anyway.
That's true. So that's a great way to start it. But this C-Way, I think I'm very excited about for so many different reasons. Number one, we're going to be having 10 classes, okay, which is a lot more than last year. Last year we had about 6 or 5. So this year we're having 10 classes, which is awesome. We have some amazing speakers. For those of you that haven't heard of Robert Drysdale, he'll be doing a class for implementing a BJJ program. Master Ace will be doing his workout and also showing people how to implement kickboxing and Muay Thai. We also have Sean the Shark Jimenez. He'll be doing things for program director training. I definitely highly recommend. He is the best. There's, really good information, great content that he'll be providing for everybody. Ricardo Almeida and myself will be doing a class on social content marketing. So I'm doing a class with he's known as the big dog. He's amazing. Follow him and follow Master Ace. Follow everybody that you can on Facebook, Twitter, to check out what these guys are doing. His brother doing a class also on duplication. So if you're looking to duplicate yourself, which if you are a school owner and you're looking to grow, you must figure that out quickly. You have to duplicate yourself 5 or 6 times over. So that'll be an amazing class as well. Roland Osborne from Hyper will be doing a Hyper event, 2-hour training session for everybody that attends there. And we're also working on having Dave Kovar doing his instructor certification on one of the days. So one day you'll have, Hyper training. The next day you'll be having Dave Kovar. We're still working on just finalizing everything with him. And then just other amazing classes and speakers that we're still working on every day. We're adding more. Robin Silverman from Powerful Words. Just real looking forward to it. And, of course, our CEO, Master Freed Dadar, he will be there as well. We have a panel where we'll be doing some Q&As and perfect mind training. So just a quick announcement. If you're looking to register for the Seaway, please just check us out. You can give us a call here also and get your tickets today for the Seaway. So those are some great promotions going on. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for today, Master Ace. I know you have a lot to do this weekend as well. So we'd like to thank everybody for attending today's webinar. And if you're interested in getting the the Seaway tickets, please just give us a call at 877-774-5425, extension 1. Okay, Master Ace, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I just want to thank everybody for attending, and if anybody attended late, I'm very thankful that you were able to make it. I'd rather you come in late than not at all, and hope to see you guys, if not at the Seaway, at my next webinar with ChampionsWay.